Think we are live and alive. If I can just open the chat. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, chat's working fine.
Hello. Yep, chat's working fine.
Just a second. Just doing the basic requirements. Get started then. Yeah, okay, so I've done the basic things which I need to do. And without any further delay, we can get the party started. Looking like a proper Red Bull engineer right now. And they are in much need right now, post GP. So just let me check if the chat's working fine and then we can start.
Chat's working fine and then we can start.
Hello.
Fine. We can start. Hello.
Yep.
Fine. We can start. Hello. Yeah.
Looking classic Red Bull engineer right now. Someone they can trust also. So hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. I think it's been a long while since I've done live podcast type of thing. So I thought yes, maybe if we can talk about the ongoing issues around West Asia, the Iran, Israel, the USA conflict. Just let me confirm if the screen's shared well. Chat's going all right.
We confirm if the screen's shared well. Chat's going all right. Confirm if the screen's shared well.
Just a bit of a lag, but rest all is fine. Yeah. So we'll talk more around, I would say, the idea around hippos at the end of. I just want to start the work right now. We can talk about the other basic stuffs in the end, the podcast, and yeah, I'm gonna make a separate video of that also very soon. So without any further delay, let's get started. Disclaimer as usual. I am not a geopolitical expert. I'm just someone who loves to talk and discuss around geopolitics, and here we are. So just give me 1 second. If I can just, yeah, it's all good, fine. So without any further delay, let's start the discussion. So currently we have partial, I would say, ceasefire going on between US, Israel, and the Iran conflict. The partial ceasefire came around 7th of April. It came when Mr. Trump had announced initially that there would be a huge amplifications or impact on the side of USA on the territory of Iran, with scale even mounting to a civil conflicts, and to the extent of which he mentioned that the civilization might end tonight. So the ceasefire finally came around 7th of April, and it was initially proposed that this ceasefire would remain for 2 weeks. That's still 21st of April, Tuesday. And currently, we are in a position of ceasefire. There have been negotiations between the three sides, and initially, the ceasefire was seen at a very fractured end because one of the topics which had been in the mention for the case of ceasefire was the contours around Lebanon, and as announced. Uh, Multiple strikes were carried on the Lebanon state by the side of Israel. It was reported that nearly uh, screen has went off. Just saw. Just a second. I don't know how that happened. Just a second.
I don't know how that happened. Just a second.
Yeah, it's back
I
again.
don't know how that happened. Just yeah, it's back. I don't know how that happened.
Let me confirm if it's working fine now. Just a second.
It's working fine now.
Hello.
Just a second.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it's working fine. So, like I was mentioning, when the initial ceasefire got a position, the thing which we saw at the time was basically multiple strikes got carried on the state of Lebanon on the side of Israel. There was a report that nearly 100 missiles got strike in nearly 10 minutes on the side of Israel, and that's where we felt that the ceasefire might have been a fractured one, a complicated and a confused one, because three topics had been in the news a lot. We'll discuss more on the same, but Lebanon was one such point of a sorrow state there. Very sorry. भाई मैं भी वो कर रहा था यार, वो पॉडकास्ट वाला। हाँ कोई नहीं, आजा तू भी, आजा तू, आ ही चुका वैसे, तब तू लाइव पे आ चुका वैसे तू यहाँ पे। नहीं नहीं, मतलब मैं कह रहा हूँ कि कोई नहीं, कोई नहीं, अपन करते बात, ठीक है भाई, ठीक ठीक ठीक, ओके भाई, ठीक ठीक। Really sorry, it was a friend of mine, best friend. So let me confirm it's.
Very sorry.
So yeah, coming back to the case. So we know the current situation which this particular war and the conflict had. Pakistan had been positioned to be as a proponent for the case of being a mediator in this ceasefire operations and the discussion on the topic. Why Pakistan? Because mainly of couple of reasons. The influence which Pakistan holds in the overall, I would say, West Asia, and the way the friendship has been between Mr. Trump and the Asim Munir side of Pakistan. I'm gonna mention Asim Munir only here because we see how things have been evolving about. It's a friendship not with the civilian administration of Pakistan, but rather I would say a tie-up between the military faction of Pakistan and the US side. When the negotiations and discussions were ongoing, Asim Munir was the one who visited Iran, and Shabazz Sharif was the one who went to Saudi Arabia. So such sort of things show basically who is the real manpower, and we know for the case of Pakistan. And so the, I would say, closeness in the relationship between Pakistan and USA right now, and the overall, I would say, position of Pakistan in the Islamic world and in the Gulf region. Pakistan has second largest population when it comes to the case of Muslim population. First is Indonesia, and also majority of the proportion of the Sunni Muslims are also in Pakistan. So that's another, I would say, link between Pakistan and Iran, and then the overall ties between the Gulf region with Pakistan, and that's one of the biggest reasons why the element of Pakistan as being a key negotiator was in this discussion here. And the thing is, the way the Pakistan government is right now, they need whatever help they can from the side of the USA or the West or the Gulf area. So, being a negotiator, being, I would say, someone who is willing to discuss such things, and other countries might hesitate to, I would say, not discuss here. Pakistan thought that it's a good chance for them to be in the good books of Mr. Trump again. That's what has been happening about. That's the reason why Pakistan was chosen as the mediator in this so-called discussions. And we saw around, I would say, a couple of days back, somewhere around 7th and 6th, maybe April, Mr. J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the USA, he visited Pakistan, and then the discussions of for the peace he started about. The biggest shock I would say in this thing was that Iran was nowhere to be seen. Sorry, Israel was nowhere to be seen. We had the case of only Pakistan, US side and Iran side sitting here and the negotiation going on. And the reason why a particular conflict, or I would say confusion, would have to appear because when one of the biggest, I would say, personality and I would say is not there on the table, what's the discussion that's going to happen? So that's where I feel that this particular element of issue was supposed to be there. And right now, there is a ceasefire, 2 week ceasefire, it started on 7th of April, and it would end on 21st April. I hope things might get settled down, but the way things have evolved right now, it doesn't look much that good. There was discussion 2 days back that Lebanon ceasefire has also been negotiated, but Hezbollah commenting that they won't back down, and with the Israeli right-wing faction saying that they won't stop till they reach to the Litani River. I feel it's a bit of a tough situation there also. And coming to the case of even the Persian Gulf, the Hormuz Strait initially was opened by the side of the Iran, and a blockade which was positioned by Mr. Trump was being opened. But once again, we see today two Indian ships got attacked from the side of the Iranian part, and once again, Iran has stopped the Strait of Hormuz. That's where I feel that the issue has once again escalated, and the discussion on the uranium also part is yet to go about. So that's where initially I would like to write three things. There's mainly a trio of things which needed to be seen for sure for this particular war to end. And that trio of things basically is the Lebanon angle, is the Hormuz angle, and it's the uranium enrichment angle. So I'm going to give a brief about all these context firstly, and then we can discuss more on what a ceasefire, possible ceasefire, could look like. So, coming to the Lebanon angle, in the last video also, when we were discussed in detail around the history of Middle East, we discussed how the evolution of Hezbollah came about. So, Hezbollah is, I would say, a military faction. Their stronghold is somewhere or the other part of Lebanon. It's mainly near a river. That's still the border of, I would say, Israel, up towards the element of once again the Litani River. That's something or the other we see that the case of Hezbollah as an entity exists. So what we see right now, if I can show a map, let's say Hezbollah territory in Lebanon. So that's how these folks have positioned their territory in Lebanon. And right now, whenever we see that the discussion has to happen about that a possible peace deal has to be negotiated, we often hear the word that the Litani River has to be contained, and that's where the Litani River angle comes about. Uh, Currently, Israel and Lebanon had an attack, I would say, in the 1990s. It was a huge, I would say, fiasco between the two folks. At the time, Lebanon, Hezbollah got pushed back from the side of Israel, and then once again the Dark Box is here. So there was a pushback on the side of Hezbollah, and then the counter by the side of Israel. 2007, 2008, once again, some confrontation happened, and there was a blue line negotiated between the UN, Israel, and the Hezbollah faction. It's the blue line here. It was an agreed upon, I would say, border between the Lebanon faction of Hezbollah and the border of Israel. But things have been escalating once again. 2023, 7th October attack happened from the side of Hamas in Gaza. When that attack particularly happened, Israel started to counterattack Hamas in support of Hamas. Iran came. When Iran came, the axis of resistance once again got into negotiations. Hezbollah got activated in the Lebanon. Houthis got activated in the Yemen, and that's how the war have been once again evolving about. Then we saw the pager attack happen on the side of Israel. Many of the top leaders amongst the Lebanon of the Hezbollah got, I would say, killed at the time. Then once again last year, when the Iran-Israel issue came about, once again the attack started, and that's how this particular discussion has been going on. When finally this particular war between Israel and Iran broke down on 25th, 28th February, as the axis of resistance once again tried to bring about a case of, I would say, front against the faction of Israeli, Hezbollah and Israel attack once again increased. But this time, the amount of intensity which Israel has shown towards the side of Lebanon and Hezbollah, it's been too much. There had been reports of civilian infrastructure being damaged in the case of uh, Lebanon till the Litani River. There was cases where bridges were being collapsed, and that's where I feel that the element, once again, the just war theory comes about, that you have to attack a particular person in proportionate to the required need. You can't bring, I would say, a bazooka in the fight of a cat and mice, and that's where I feel that Israel tends to go over and beyond when the particular issue comes about, and that's what we saw in the case of Lebanon, and that's the initial angle which I have to say first of all, and then we can go more in there. The second element basically here was that in the negotiation which took place, Israel said that a deal is yet not concluded on the case of Lebanon, because Iran said that the deal on the angle of Lebanon has been included, and that's where the confusion came about. And then the reported 10 minutes of strike of 100, I would say, artillery is fired on the side of Israel to Lebanon, and multiple killing once again took place. So that's the Lebanon angle. Coming to the Strait of the Hormuz, the biggest, I would say, issue which the world is facing right now, and it's a small, I would say, uh, virus, I would say, which yet to creep out, and it's gonna damage the world a lot in the long run. Also, one of the biggest issue which has been flagged right now is the element of sea mines. So there was a report. Currently, many Western nations have flooded the news, but people try to counter that it can't be true. But let's be honest here: when you have installed a sea mine in the river, in an ocean, it's actually very tough to get it back and to demine it. When the 1940s World War took place, many sea mines were installed by the side of UK and Germany in the North Sea area in the English Channel, and there had been reports that the sea mines still exist there. Then the 1980 to 88 Iran-Iraq war took place, tanker wars took place. 1991, Kuwait invasion by Iraq happened, and then the USA went in the Arab War. And then that time also saw once again the presence of the mines there. And that sea mine still exists right now. In the 1992 or 1993, there was report where two ships from the side of USA got in touch with those mines, and they face severe damages. That's where the angle of mine still exists, and it's a problem which I would say is once again in build up here. The sea mines are yet existing here, and the report has come that Iran has not been able to locate the most of the sea mines. It's actually, I would say, a thing which has happened also in the past, and that's the reason why a kind of a cooperation and joint, I would say, integration has to take place between the likes of USA, Israel, Iran, and even the Europe in general. Even India can cooperate a lot in the Arabian Sea and venture in the oceans, and that's where I feel that the Hormuz issue exists. That's the element of sea mines. Apart from that, the trade angle, of course, a majority of the proportion of the world trade happens from the Strait of Hormuz. One thing people often tend to forget is that oil is just, I would say, one particular thing. If you try to see beyond that, things which are coming from this particular area, Dubai's dominance in the case of gold, and even diamonds coming from the case of Middle East, severely impacts many countries. India being one of the top countries when it comes to the case of refinery and the reshaping of jewelry, it impacts a lot to our industry. Yeah, with Akshbhai, it's actually happened in the initial part that the possible peace was looking about initially, where it was said that maybe with the Hormuz Strait now opened up by the Iran side, things might look good. But we once again see that two of the Indian ships got destroyed by the side of Iran, and right now India had responded. Even the talks between the ambassadors has started to took place. That's where I feel that once again the issue has started to build about, and India has responded to it right now. The External Affairs Ministry has given a particular, I would say, notice that the observations have been noted about, and we condemn whatever the things are happening, and the discussion between the ambassadors are now being happening. That's where I feel that the escalation tends to exist more and more, and the trade is, I would say, once again disrupted. The diamond refinery is just a particular thing over to the top of the oil sector. Also, we had a scare in the initial run up to the issue with the LNG and the PNG discussion happening about the hoarding happening. That's where the element of commerce trade comes about. Third angle which we have is the case of uranium enrichment. a uranium enriched to the level of 80 to 90% is a nuclear bomb. It extended to the case of 60 to 50%, it's for the research purposes. And then below 10%, we have it for the electricity generation. And that's where the discussion has been taking place. Currently, it's said that Iran has some 200 kgs of 60% enriched uranium, which, if they have the facilities, they can enrich it towards the 80 90% of a uranium, and it's possible to then yield them 5 to 6 bombs. But the thing is, the amount of attack which has happened from the side of Israel and USA. Right now, Iran, all the uranium enrichment facilities have been destroyed. So the discussion of it going to 80 90% and then Iran acquiring a nuclear bomb, that's completely over now. The fear which the Israelis or the USA now have is unwarranted, because technically Iran can't right now, in the couple of 5 to 10 years, they can't enrich that uranium because all of the uranium enrichment facilities have been destroyed. So that's one element here. And but still, that 200 kgs of 60% uranium still exists there. And with USA and Israel side being, I would say, still in fear of what has to be done of that uranium sand, there have been discussion of a joint venture. There was report that maybe USA and Iran could come in a joint venture, and the uh, uranium could be taken by side of USA, and there could be some compliance between the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. There were even reports of Iran and Russia going in a cooperation mode, but that won't be liked by the side of Israel and the USA, because Russia being a good friend of Iran and just 2 or 3 hours of flight away, that uranium could be anytime used by Iran for their own benefits. That's the case for uranium. And the discussion from the side of USA coming that there needs to be a 20-year pause on the uranium enrichment and the nuclear program of Iran. But Iran saying that we need a 5-year pause. That's where the initial issues and the discussion would go. These are three, I would say, one of the most prominent topics which has to be discussed whenever the ceasefire comes about. That's the initial, I would say, the base of the discussion. And now let's try to see what are the pointers which have been forwarded by the side of Iran and the USA for this particular negotiations? And if we, as I would say, someone who are noticing this particular ongoing conflict, and if we try to build a possible ceasefire plan, how should the ceasefire look like? So let's get this party started, and uh, let's see if we can plan a ceasefire. And if there's someone who is watching this stream right now, let's see if I can, I would say, provide some pointers from the perspective which I have and the broader world. So coming up to the discussion. So these are the key demands which USA had pushed forward, and this was mainly a 15-point plan which USA had offered, and let's try to see if it's a feasible, and if we can add it to our possible ceasefire plan, and if a possible ceasefire would look like, how it should look like. Currently, what we see is a maximalist stance. Basically, USA has proposed a 15-pointer stance which favors them, and Iran has uh, positioned a 10-point stance which favors them. So it's called a maximalist stance, wherein they can take it to the link of the bargaining. It's your mother and the shopkeeper bargaining. The shopkeeper has set the price at 100 rupees, and your mother say it's 10 rupees. That's the maximalist stance. And then the negotiation would come from 10, 30 to 50 to 100, and that's a two-floor discussion which come about, and finally maybe the price gets around at 45 rupees. That's how the negotiations go about. Both sides always provide their maximalist stance, and then a pathway starts to exist, and finally a conclusion comes about. So, coming to the possible discussion and how I would say an element of ceasefire can be planned and how the ceasefire plan should look like. So, these are the offers by USA. First, nuclear disarmament, complete dismantling of the three major nuclear sites as Natanz, Fahan, and Fardo. Nuclear dismantlement, complete dismantling of the three major nuclear sites at Natanz, Isfahan, and Fardo. So now the thing with this particular issue is, firstly, these three are actually a very, I would say, important, I would say, sites, because these three were the ones which were bombed by USA last year when the B-2 bombers came about and they bombed carpet bombing in the area of Iran. These were the three nuclear sites which were targeted by USA, and that's why they tend to gain, I would say, prominence in the discussion. The Natanz area, the Isfahan area, and the Fardaw area. Yep, Red Bull sponsors. So uh, complete dismantling, I would say, to come about a negotiation from the side of Iran, I think it would be a very tough discussion to happen about, because, see, the thing is, US, I would say, the Western folks, USA, UK, France, and other people, uh, these people have, I would say, enjoyed the benefits of technology. You have been able to capitalize on the industrial revolution much well and beyond compared to other developing countries and the less developed countries right now. And to now lecture the world that you can't, I would say, use nuclear energy for the benefits of civilian purposes, I don't think it's a wise decision as far as basic international laws and even a common sense comes about. So to say that a country should disband their entire nuclear program, it's not a feasible thing to ask for a country. And for a country which is full of pride people, it's, I would say, a very tough thing. See, Pakistan has no pride. Their sole existence, their sole, I would say, entity, their sole, I would say, cause to live and to breathe is just to, I would say, counter India. They are taught from their childhood to any and every time they are, I would say, trained in this particular faction that your only enemy is India. There was that incident before the Pahalgam attack took place. Asim Munir was seen reportedly quoting very, I would say, anti-communal terms in a particular speech. He goes about speaking that this is the difference between the Hindus and the Muslims. Whereas right now we saw the speech of our chief of defense, the CDS of India. He says that when the Operation Sindoor started, we made sure that whenever we attacked terrorist bases, we did not attack when they were doing the prayers. This time पे नमाज वगैरह हो रही थी, we did not, I would say, attack at that time. And for that, our CDS quotes that सबका ऊपर वाला मालिक एक ही है. And that's the difference, I would say, between the Indian side and the Pakistan side. And that's the element, I would say, of how a country should exist. If your existence of a country is just based on the fact of a religion, and your sole existence somewhere or the other tends to only go and help the case of countering India, you can't, I would say, do anything for this country. And that's where I feel that these people don't have any pride in themselves. But when it comes to the case of Iran, Iranians are a very, I would say, prideful nation. It's a civilizational state. It has been existing since millennia. The Persian Revolution, the Persian culture, the Persian civilization, the existence of Zoroastrianism as a religion. It had a confluence, its origin from Iran only. The first, I would say, big change in the borders of Iran, the Ashwal Iran, the Persian Iran, it happened in the case of when Alexander came here. But still, the people were able to rise about, and the new boundaries and the new contours built about. And Iran has sustained against the external pressures since long. And you would be surprised to know that there are many, I would say, doctors and people in the field of STEM from this country, even the women. If you try to see the population which is educated on the side of Iran as compared to the other developing worlds, it's a very big difference. They are very educated people here. Even the women and the female people are well educated here. And that's where I feel that the element of pride comes about for a nation. And if a country is just pride of their own, I would say, stance and their people and their culture, you can't just go and ask them, boss, you can't make nuclear weapons. That's where I feel this particular point tabled by USA is something which won't come in the end negotiation. You can't say a complete dismantle would happen. Maybe a pause, a temporary hiatus can happen about, but a complete dismantling, nowhere on the hell will the Iranians accept that, because they are a prideful nation, it's a civilization state, and you can't, I would say, ask such a state to back down from that thing. So, and one more thing, I have to bash Iran when the need arises, and I've took the liberty and the attempt to even the way the Western hypocrisy comes about. That's the power, I would say, of being a centrist and seeing things from the perspective of a country. Until and unless we are able to remove the shades of our biasness and see the country from the way it exists, You can't, I would say, study the intricacies and the way things operate. For example, the 1990s era when India tested its nuclear program. Just imagine Senior Bush at the time. Suppose Senior Bush gives an order that the Pokhram site and the other areas where India is enriching its nuclear arsenal and bomb that area. What would your response have been? Of course, you would not have, I would say that we don't do anything, we should just stay calm and all. Of course, your anger would fuel up. So if your anger gets fueled up when your country gets bombed, why do you think that when another country is getting bombed, their people won't be sad? Their people won't be, I would say, angry. If truly a revolution would have to happen in the case of Iran, this was the best time the revolution could have happened. But it did not happen. You can't just ask another country to come in your country and then topple the regime. That's the biggest reason why the Shah of Iran is yet not here. If the Shah of Iran has to come back once again, he has to come by popular support. If he does not have a support in the region of Iran, he can't sustain it. That's the element, I would say, of a civilization state, and why you need to see the country from the perspective. Even in the case of, I would say, USA, when the 9/11 attack happened in the USA, every and other way USA was just an attack. They had to do it because first of all, there is no justification for, I would say, the case of and second, you are such, I would say, a big power or such a big nation, and a big terrorist attack has happened on your soil, and you have not been able to, I would say, uh, investigate how such thing happened. The very top class CIA, which has been existing in since so many years to have countered coups and all, they were not able to track a particular upcoming terrorist attack. So it's a shame for your country, and that's the time when USA had to act, and that's why they acted. They had to find a scapegoat. That scapegoat was Iraq, and they did it. So that's where I feel the element of studying these countries and their actions come about. Everything, I would say, is somewhere or the other related to a behavioral part, because at the end of the day, the countries are being run by human beings, and human beings have behavior, human beings have emotions, and those emotions get reciprocated. Even in the case, you can just take, I would say, any example here. For example, the case of Spain, the way Spain operates, the way president of Spain operates, it's the legacy and the history of Spain as compared to the rest of the Europe. The dictatorial rule in Spain for a long time is the reason why the intricacies and the way the politics has evolved there. The case of Japan, uh, Japan has always, I would say, feared the word of the nuclear bombs. It's feared because of the issues which they had. It's the China case. China suffered through sensitive humiliation. So when they now, I would say, go other people in the Pacific region, they say to themselves that we were the one who were bullied in the initial run. And that's the biggest reason I feel this world goes for chaos, because people hold on to grudges and countries have had their own past, and that's why they would say, I would say, try to maximize their own interest. The case of Russia, what's the biggest reason why Russia had such a big map? It had to position its geography till it did not reach to the end of the Ural Mountains. It was not able to, I would say, confirm that the safety has been ensured. That's where the element of seeing a country's history and the actions comes about. So coming back to the case, uh, it's very tough, I would say, for of the nuclear sites to happen. But the clause which had been offered by Mr. Trump for a 20, and then the counter clause on the side of Iran of offering a 5-year pause, that's something at a feasible end. See, the thing is, cooperation leads to trust, and trust leads to peace. So, if a cooperation can exist between the USA, Iran, and the international bodies, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, some kind of an element of, I would say, peace and negotiation can be built about. And if that kind of a negotiation gets built about, it could help to sustain a peace in the long run. So, what a possible ceasefire plan in the case of nuclear plants and the program should be, it should be that basically a certain cooperation has to exist, a certain, I would say, trust building has to take place. And if Iran has said a 5-year halt and USA has said a 20-year, what they can actually do is a 5-5-5 rolling plan. A 5-5-5 rolling plan can take place with the IAE and the P5 together. Why just USA? Involve the P5. There's a reason why the UN exists. There's a reason why the UNSC exists. So get that elephant to the work now. It's just sitting there. Use the UN. Use the P5. The UN has been at us since long. I don't know what they have even said, and what even someone is saying about them nowadays. So a 5-5 rolling plan, if gets positioned in the case of IAE, it could somewhere or the other help for the peace. For example, after 5 years, you can open up Natas. Then after 10 years, you can open Fardo. And then after 15 years, forgot the name of the third location, Isfahan. You can open up Isfahan. So that's where I feel how a possible negotiation can be built about, and it could eliminate the provision of that nuclear enrichments. Also, nuclear enrichment is something which was mentioned up, so I would talk about that in much detail once again. That's how a possible rolling plan could exist, when a cooperation can exist between the IAE and the P5. So here's the thing. Coming up second, no weapons commitment, a permanent legally binding commitment from Iran to never develop nuclear weapons. And see, this is the point which I sort of agree. And there's a reason why, because the point of nuclear weapon is to have a deterrence. You have to have a deterrence so that people can't just bully you, or can, I would say, act against you at impunity. So deterrence is something which we need, but Iran has a bigger deterrence, and it has the Hormuz Strait. The way Iran has been able to control the Hormuz Strait, the way the sea mines have been positioned, the way IRGC between the coastal guards took place, nobody expected such a thing to happen about. That's where I feel Iran has a nuclear bomb in itself, in the form of the Hormuz Strait. To be able to choke the Hormuz Strait, that's where I feel the element of a deterrence from the side of Iran comes about. Coming to the position of whether Iran should have a nuclear bomb, I think it's something which has to be compromised. And if Iran gets to have a nuclear bomb, then the Saudis can push to have a nuclear bomb on the side of our dear friend Pakistan. And that's where I feel that this discussion then comes about, that you can't have nuclear bombs, with already nations of Europe and other discussing that they should position their nuclear bombs with each other. The negotiation between Japan, South Korea element. I feel that if now we have a nuclear bomb in the Middle East again, uh, it won't be, I would say, a good thing, because at the end of the day, it's a bomb. It's, I would say, weaponry which, for the first instance, should never have been in the hands of human beings. As the opening statement of the Oppenheimer reads, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave to the humans. Yeah, it should not have been done. Uh, Oppenheimer was right when he said that now I am the destroyer of the world. And it's a true thing. The destruction which we saw in the case of Japan, the Hiroshima Nagasaki bomb, the weakest bomb which we have right now from the side of the UK, it's much, much, much stronger than what we saw in the case of Hiroshima Nagasaki. So just imagine the devastation a nuclear bomb can cause. And that's where I feel that any another discussion when it comes about the case of a nuclear bomb should be avoided. There should be even talks amongst the countries right now, the P5 nations, the other countries which have the nuclear bomb, India, Pakistan, uh, Israel, and then the North Korea. They should discuss and arrive at a possible solution in the future, maybe in an optimistic future, maybe in an hypothetical idealistic world. There needs to be a solution wherein the issue and the problem around nuclear bomb has to be removed, because that's, I would say, the killer of everything. So that's my take for the case of the nuclear bombs. In my opinion, there has to be a negotiation where the nuclear program has to be stopped for the case of the weaponry, because it's not good for anyone. And if Iran gets a nuclear bomb, Saudi gets that from side of Pakistan, then the element of Turkey demanding it, then the element of European state for the demanding it, Germany demanding it, Japan demanding, South Korea demanding it. It's gonna be Pandora boxes. It's gonna be a biggest domino effect. So that's somewhere I feel that this plan can exist, and I would say should be negotiated. That uh, I say it's no go for a nuclear bomb. And even if you see, I don't know how much this is true, or how much it was as a confidence building measure, but the faction of the Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, he had actually positioned a fatwa on the case of the nuclear weapon, that the nuclear weapon would never be used for the case, the nuclear power would never be used for the case of military and attack purposes. So, if we have to believe the Ayatollah Khamenei is the supreme leader's word, there's a fatwa which exists. And in my humble opinion, I think yes, it should be a no go for nuclear bombs. So that's the second point we have here. Coming up next, ad domestic enrichment, immediate cessation of all uranium enrichment on Iran. So, like I mentioned, that they basically wants to take away any and every enriched, I would say, uranium Iran has right now. And there were even claims the sent in, I would say, choppers on the side of USA to Iran, the failed attempt of capturing the soldier of USA, which fell down in Iranian borders on the jet planes. It was reported that maybe somewhere or the other there's a discussion happening that maybe they are coming here to take out the enriched uranium which Iran has. So my take here for a confidence building measure here is that we need to have a plan and a positioning wherein the uranium has to be, I would say, not seized, but taken in joint confidence and measure, because it's the biggest reason why this particular war has been going about, apart from the way Israel has a position about. I'm going to talk about Israel in a long detail in the later end of the video, because if you really want to have this issue sorted, the one bull, the one raging bull which has to be contained, it's the Israel. So, but yeah, uranium enrichment, that's something I would say is being discussed. And right now, we are seeing that the enrichment has particularly stopped right now, because, like I mentioned, the way the bombs have happened about, the nuclear enrichment facilities have been destroyed. So that's 60% which Iran has right now. It's a capped 200 kg of 60% uranium, and it can't, I would say, go more right now. So that's the element around the case of nuclear enrichment. I think if I can just include it here also, enrichment part, and what can be a possible solution, like I mentioned in the case of this. I think the third point which we have here, the stockpile handover, that the handover of all existing uranium enriched to the IAE for removal or downblend to 3.67%. So I think if we can discuss 3 and 4 together here. So, what I personally feel that yes, there needs to be a cap in the case of the nuclear enrichment for the betterment of the overall world, because see, the biggest reason why this war always exists is two things: it's the nuclear angle and the Israel angle. So, if a compromise has to be achieved, the compromise has to be achieved, because I feel that a negotiation can't took place directly between USA and Iran, because Iran would never be willing to give the one thing which they have, the right thing which they have. So, but if there is a condition wherein there's a joint venture between Iran, the P5, the IAEE, that's where I feel that somewhere or the other a negotiating piece can be discussed. So a nuclear enrichment level to the extent of 3.67%, like I mentioned, is for electricity generation, and if that's something which can be discussed about, somewhere or the other a possible peace can exist. So that's the first agenda which I feel, and I think why keep it separate agenda? It's a nuclear plant, so yeah, let's just keep it here itself. So that's my take, I would say, for yeah. So that's how I see this particular issue existing right now. That the possible ceasefire plan, the 4 points can be clubbed up into this 1 point. Coming up next slide, into inspection granting the IAE full permanent access and real-time oversight of all remaining infrastructure. Yeah, it's a possible thing. I think it's somewhere or the other gets included in that point only. So yeah, I don't have any per se problem with this particular statement. So I can add it just here only, that inspections from IAE, and it's one other, if I can add from my own end, it's the centrifuge limit. See, the thing is, uh, this world which we live right now is a world which needs, I would say, cooperation amongst the people. The more and more you cooperate, the less and less the chances are for a war. The biggest reason why India and China have never gone against each other after the 1961 fiasco is that there is a dependence amongst each other. As much as you want to deny it, but there is a, I would say, element of trade which India China has, and we have a deficit, unfortunately. And China also gets benefit from the deal which and India China have in the trade. So that's where I feel the cooperation becomes the reason why the peace happens. And if a cooperation and a friendly element can exist, why don't we try that? So that's where I feel that the negotiation can be arrived. The centrifuge limit has been taken from the JACOPA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which existed in 2015. It was between the P5, the Germany, and the Iran that a possible solution can be envisaged for the nuclear program. And if a centrifuge limit, the arena wherein the new induction program happens about, if that centrifuge can be reduced or capped, it can also, I would say, lead to a confidence building measure. Because see, Jacopa was, I would say, a brilliant master move at the time to get a negotiation signed about wherein the sanctions on Iran gets removed, the nuclear plan, I would say, gets stopped about. So, somewhere or the other, I would say it helped the world to have a sigh of relief. So, if certain confidence building measure can be informed wherein centrifuge limits are reduced, enrichment is down, and then sanctions are removed, it's gonna be a win-win for all. So that's where I feel these 5 points coming together. Coming up next at missile restrictions, strict limits on the range and quantity of ballistic missile restricted solely to defense purposes. You can't ask a country to do this, and that's, I would say, a red flag there. Uh, Sorry to say once again, yeah, like as mentioned, I am a centrist and I like to bash both the right and the left. And like I said, that where Iran might have to back down, but this is something where Iran would never back down because just as much as Israel thinks that Iran is a threat for them, Iran also has the same, I would say, stance that uh, Israel is a threat for them. And every and other country needs to have a proposition and a deterrence to act against an animosity. See, here's what I feel the world happens. Strict limits on the range and quantity of ballistic missile restricted solely to defense purposes. Now, my question here is where did that B 2 bomber came about? The B 2 bomber, which Iran last year, when the carpet bombing took place, it came all the way from the side of USA, and reportedly it was positioned initially Diego Garcia for refueling purposes, and then from Diego Garcia it came all the way to the Iran. So, if you try to see the thing happen about, so for self-defense, they need to have a position. And how much is the distance between Iran and the area of? It's 4,000 kilometers. So, technically speaking, the limits are there for the same thing. So that's what I feel when it comes to the case of restrictions happen about because the term self-defense is a very, I would say, broad term, and you can't ask a country to restrict their defenses and their, I would say, operational advantage which they have of the rest of the world. If you are providing some commitments that you won't, I would say, go and bomb a country, boss, till then I would don't see that you can't ask that. You can ask a country to restrict their own, I would say, military stance. So that's my point for 6 point. Coming up, seventh, the process of body is that's what I mean. There has to be a discussion on Hamas. There has to be a discussion on Hezbollah, and there has to be a discussion on the Houthis. One of the biggest reason why this particular ongoing negotiation fell down was that the Hezbollah and the Lebanon angle was discussed separately. And when you did that, the confusion came and finally the war happened. So if a new peace deal has to be formalized, the element of Hezbollah has to be included and Hamas and Houthi has also to be included. See, as much as Iran would like to hide and as much as the left people would like to hide, there is an excess of resistance there is a blood brotherhood angle between Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and Iran. Iran has supported Hezbollah, Iran has supported Hamas, Iran has supported Houthis. Jitna deny the left can do, they can do, but the fact is it exists. And the thing is, boss, till when can we defend a terrorist stance? I fully agree to the fact that what Israel did in Gaza later on was absolutely wrong. You can't just go and bomb cities. You can't just kill countless children in a hospital. You can't kill girls in school. Uh, it's uncalled for. But what happened in the first dance? Hamas were the one who attacked Israel. So there is no way in the hell, I think, Hamas and the Palestinian cause can justify the 7th October 2023 attack. No way in the hell it can be justified. The case of Hezbollah, no way in the hell I can justify their attacks and their takeover of the Beirut city or the other act they do. No way or the other. In the case of Houthis, also I can justify the things that they have been doing is legitimate. It's a violent faction. It's a violent faction, and everyone knows that. So firstly, a recognition has to be happened that yes, boss, they are a violent faction. And for the violent faction, somewhere or the other, a solution has to be talked about. For the case of Hamas, see, once again, the element has to be a confidence building. How can the confidence building happen? You have to position at least the Gaza and the West Bank as safe haven for the Palestinians. You have to propose, I would say, somewhere or the other element of that. India has always said this thing that any other peace negotiation which can happen in this region can only happen when there is a two-state solution. You can't expect this particular problem to get solved when there are factions fighting just for that cause only. So what I personally feel is that if a confidence building gets ensured, I'm not saying directly that the state has to be created, but at least you can ensure a confidence building. You can at least ensure a permanent or I would say a temporary residence to the people in the Gaza and the West Bank. That temporary then stance can be formulated to a 5 year, 10 year, 20 year, 30 year lease, and it can be extended till generations. But if you do such a thing, the main thing would happen is you would get confidence, and with that confidence would get built up, a possible element of peace and negotiation can be discussed. That's what my take has been. That if confidence building effort took place on the side of the USA, that Gaza and the West Bank becomes a safe haven for Palestinians, then back down and handover of weapons can take place. But firstly, you have to create, I would say, promises. Firstly, you have to showcase that yes, we are doing what we are doing for the ultimate benefit of all. What we are doing is for the case of the peace. So that's the Hamas angle which we have. Coming to the case of Hezbollah, Hezbollah, if you actually have been following the news since long, they are not even liked by the civilian administration of the Lebanon right now because they are being a mess. They are absolutely being a mess. The way they have been attacking the side of Israel, it's uncalled for, and it just keeps accelerating the things. Yes, you can position yourself to go for a violent stance and then ask for, I would say, peace. But boss, you have to understand that the way you have been doing things, it has not favored your country. It has led to the loss of yourself only. The Litani River area has been bombed. The civilian administration has been broken down. The bridges have been destroyed. What's happening? It's the loss for the world itself. It's the loss for yourself only. So once again, you have to back down a bit for having ensuring the peace. I'm not saying at any or other stance that what Israel did was correct. Yes, they have to pay for what they have done. There has to be agreements. There has to be discussion, and that's something which they have to do. They have to ensure that. But if a longer peace has to be ensured, Hezbollah has to change its positioning and they have to uh, position the stance and different thing. It has happened in the case of India also. The Naxalites. Naxalites used to be a menacing force in the era of 2009 2008. But right now we see they have laid down their arms because they also know that the use of weaponry and the use of warfare against the state, it's an uncalled measure and it's never a possible win for them. So for now, the case of Hezbollah also, the thing is they have to back down. Back down has to happen. But a joint cooperation and peace building has to take place. The blue line which we had, it could be expanded toward 20 to 30 kilometer safe zone with the UN peacekeeping forces, and then slowly keeping, and then slowly slowly you can see the out movement of Israel from Lebanon, and make sure that Lebanon, the Hezbollah people, they get some stance in the administration. So that's the element for Hezbollah Houthis. See, the Red Sea is another choke point which we had in the news last year a lot, because at the time when the war between Hamas was taking place in the Gaza, Israel, uh, the Houthis on the side of Yemen, they were blocking the Bab al Mandab Strait, and the Red Sea was choked at the time. So, for a possible peace to now arrive, they have to do something. And if the current issue is to be accorded, you have to talk between the two factions. The talk between the world and the Houthis has to happen about. And right now, the world was gracious enough to see that Saudi Arabia and the Yemen, sorry, the UAE are finally cooperating together. In the case of the Yemen, there had been incidents at the factions of the Houthi, the way things have been happening about. It was reported that there was a faction which was having some backdoor connection with the case of UAE also. So a peace negotiation in the case of Houthi has also been to be included here, because if a lasting peace has to be ensured in this West Asia region, these are the places which have to be involved, because whenever Iran would get involved, they would get involved. So a possible solution, like I said, that there are multiple actors here, and the possible solution will call for negotiation between Saudi, Iran, UAE. So a joint, I would say, cooperation and joint discussion has to happen about. And see, at the end of the day, you have to make the UN relevant. You can't leave this negotiation, this ceasefire agreement to a terrorist state like Pakistan. You have to have legitimate ground. You have to have legitimate areas where such discussion can happen about. So that's the element I would say for the case of a possible way which the elements of the ceasefire can be positioned. Now coming up next ahead, the Strait of Hormuz angle. They are the biggest cause of concern which everyone has right now, and why the war still has, I would say, existing. So coming to the Strait of Hormuz angle. So here's what I feel in the case of Strait of Hormuz. See, you can't just block a particular area and expect that uh, you can just do whatever you want to do. So yeah, but Iran did blocking the Strait of Hormuz has impacted the entire world. It has impacted India a lot. We had to change the excess policy. We had to put a cap on the additional excess policy, and the exchequer, the Indian finances, they had to took a toll. Somewhere around 1.55 lakh crore rupees got spent there. So that's where I feel the element and the issues around the case of Hormuz Road being choked comes about. And whenever such happens, yeah, it leads to a chaos, it leads to an issue. So a possible solution needs to exist. Iran was saying that they want to control the Strait of Hormuz, but see, you can't control the Strait of Hormuz. You can't get a tax. There's a difference between a Strait of Hormuz and a canal. Something which was opened between the territory of Egypt. It was cut down across the territory of Egypt, and that's why the Suez Canal's responsibility and the collection of tolls comes to the case of Egypt. Same is the case of Panama Canal. Panama Canal was cut through the city of Panama, the country of Panama, and that's why the existence comes about. So for the case of Iran, you can't, I would say, find, or you can't provide a toll mechanism in the case of Strait of Hormuz like that. So that's, I would say, a no policy which needs to be talked about, because it won't be feasible, because this is international water, and international water sees the provisioning of the UN clause, the United Nations Convention for the Laws of Seas, And under the UN clause, there are positions of exclusive economic zones. So, as much as the Strait of Hormuz is important for Iran, it's important for Qatar, it's important for Dubai, it's important for this area also, the Oman area. That's where I feel that the Hormuz Strait should be reopened, and a possible future plan has to be talked, and joint venture has to exist, but not between USA and Iran. USA has no role here. The deal has to be between Iran, UAE, even Saudi, the big giant Qatar here, Oman, and even Kuwait, somewhere, and the Bahrain also. And if that can't exist, it's gonna be a big problem for the rest of the world. Well, like I mentioned, the USA has no point here. This is not a territory of USA. This is not the Western Hemisphere where USA can just whatever they want. So yeah, that's why Salman has said that this has to be a negotiation which has to take place between the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes the likes of UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar. That's the negotiation which these people need, Iran. So it's basically a deal between the GCC and the Iran and the Persians. And if this doesn't exist, it will lead to a chaos. What can be the cooperation? Cooperation of oil. There was a pipeline, and there was a time where a pipeline used to exist between Iran and Oman. If it had happened in the past, it can happen once again. तो पैसा ही चाहिए और क्या? So the money has the deal, and the money is the one which gonna provide a positioning and provide, I would say, base for security for the rest of the world. So yeah, let's let that happen. So that's what I feel. If a possible solution has to be arrived, it could arrive. And once again, the cooperation around the oil, if it gets positioned between these two factions, the GCC and the Persians, it's well good for the rest of the world. Coming up next ahead, halt to regional attacks. Yeah, this has to happen, of course. And this is a no, I would say, brainer. Until and unless Iran has a sense of security that they won't be bombed, their territories won't be besieged, their sovereignty would be respected. Of course, the wars and the issues would stop about. It's very easy for them to stop. But until and unless that, I would say, stability and, I would say, a confidence building measure does not exist between the two sides, it's gonna be very much problematic for both the factions. So if I can just write here that cessation of attacks by USA onto the side of Iran, especially the civilian and energy sector. Civilian and energy sector. I think if energy structure, energy security is being talked about, we can talk about the three key areas which this region has in the news. So these three regions which Iran has a lot in the news, it's the Kharg Island here, and then it's the Bush plant. It's just a second. Yeah, here's the Kharg Island. That's what the geopolitics and the love for this game does to a man. I'm really happy that I was able to locate Kharg and Bushehr at a one go. So yeah, here's the Kharg Island. Then here's the Bushehr nuclear plant, and then here, if I can just zoom out a bit and show you in the map, South Pars, South Pars, South Pars. I think I might have to use the map. South Pars. So yeah, here's South Pars gas field. So there are three prominent locations which Iran has: the Bushehr nuclear plant, the Kharg Island, and the South Pars gas oil field. The Bushehr nuclear plant is at proximity to the sea, and it's the biggest, I would say, offshore nuclear plant which they hold. And it was the functional one after the attacks on the Natanz, the Isfahan. And the issue is, if the Bushehr nuclear plant score damage, it would have led to radiation spillover, and radiation spillover would have to then go in the Persian Gulf, and it would have impacted all the countries here. It would have impacted Kuwait, it would have impacted Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Oman. With the Western disturbances going on, it would have even impacted India. The dust, nuclear dust, but impacted India also. So yes, the cessation of the attacks from the side of USA on the nuclear and energy infrastructure is a very, very important move and a very key move which has to happen until and unless Iran has the confidence that their nuclear civilian bases won't be impacted. Of course, they would be in a fear of state whether the wars and the negotiations, I would say, can go about. So that's the element for the halt to regional attacks from the side of USA. Coming up next here, what we have now, recognition of Israel, acknowledgement of Israel's right to exist as a sovereign state. Okay, so positioning around the case of Abraham Accord. Okay, nice. But here is my question then. Yes, the Israel's right to exist as a sovereign state has to be recognized. But then what about Palestine? Yes, Iran has to stop saying that to America, that to Iran, because they have been saying. I remember Pete Hegseth, Mr. Netanyahu, they have showcased to the world that yes, the Iranian faction is against Israel, and it is. We have seen reports of people chanting the slogans that death to America, death to Israel. The people in the Iran have done it. Not just the people, the parliamentarians they have done it. The Iranian parliament saw such hate speeches and the hate comments going about. So yes, Israel's right to exist as the sovereign state has to exist. But what about the Palestinians then? If Iran is gonna go for the case of Israel as a sovereign state, Palestine has to be also given some, I would say, status. So that's the element I would see why this gets a red flag from my side. Because it would be very tough for such a negotiation to happen. As soon as USA would table this particular notice that Israel existence has to be recognized by Iran as a sovereign state, Iran would say, boss, then what about Palestine? So yeah, that's an element which I feel is tough to talk about. And I think for the greater good of the world, I'm unfortunate to say that this has to be discussed later on. That's what I mean when I say that there is ceasefire, but there is no peace. Even in the case of Operation Sindhu, we have a ceasefire. We don't have peace right now. So that's the element I would say in the case of recognition of Israel. Coming on to the regional security framework, agreement to join a broader Middle East security framework alongside Gulf states and possibly Israel. Yeah, like I said, we have to do that. I have mentioned here only. When I say the case of Strait of Hormuz, so yeah, it's I would say a no-brainer because defense and I would say security cooperation between the GCC, Iran, and Israel. I'm not including and the Arab State. Yeah. I'm not including the word USA here because, boss, it's not your arena. It's Asia. Please handle your issues in Pacific. Handle your issues in the Western Hemisphere. So that's what I feel here. No brainer. Yeah, it has to exist. Coming up next here, ceasefire observation observance of an initial 30-day ceasefire. Yeah, that's a ball commentary. It will take place. That's not, I would say, technical terms which I have to talk about. So yeah, coming up next here, sanctions removal. Yes, this has to happen. A full lifting of all nuclear related sanctions and removal of the US snapback mechanism. This has to happen. You have to do it, boss. You can't go without giving them the deal if the sanction has to be not there. One of the biggest reason why the Jokopa failed was when Mr. Trump removed the sanctions from Iran. The sanctions were once again positioned on Iran after the removal from the Jokopa. Once again, things went not off. So yeah, the sanctions have to be removed. I fully agree on that. Provision for uh, sanction. Oh, just sorry. Position for sanction removal and peace deal with respect to even what's that element called assets. Iran it has to talk. And the thing is, sooner or later, if USA is not able to remove the sanctions on the side of Iran and not allow them to use the assets, frozen one, Iran would keep on trading with China in the form of crypto. That crypto would then be used by Russia to get yuan, and then the power of yuan would keep on increasing as compared to dollar. So yeah, they have to do it. It has to be done, blood. It has to be done. So coming up next ahead, civilian support. Yeah, like I mentioned here, I think it was included here when I said that there has to be an element. So yeah, if I can just include this here itself, that a civilian agreement and cooperation for nuclear electricity has to exist, because until and unless you don't promise that, yeah, it will remain. Restructuring international banking included. So that's the topics. 15 points we have to cut some 8 points here. So yeah, just a second if I can just catch a breather. Coming up next ahead, yeah, it's included already that the attacks on civilian bases and the power sector have to be whatever. Of course, yeah, if I can include it here itself, that the targeting, sorry, the targeting of Iranian leaders has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. Control of the state of Hormuz. Yeah, I can mention you can't just give them full control. It has to be a negotiation one. So it's here. Nuclear enrichment rights, official recognition of Iran's right to enrich uranium for civilian purposes under the NPT. NPT, how can it come into the NPT? Why Iran would sign NPT? Firstly, because they are going to scale up it. So yeah, I don't think why this particular point has been mentioned about, but I think we have discussed this in detail when I mentioned that the nuclear enrichment rights have to be given in the long run. A five rolling year plan has to come about, and yes, Iran's uh, ability to enrich nuclear has to be respected. Lifting of primary sanction, once again we have covered this here. Secondary sanctions also concluded here. Termination of UN resolutions. Yeah, I will not include this, but I think it gets included when we talk about uh, sanction part, the ending of UN resolutions against Iran. Because yeah, at the end of the day, a country seeks reform. Coming up next, I have termination of IAE resolutions gets included in the part of sanction itself. War reparations, US military withdrawal, ceasefire all fronts. Yeah, I think we have discussed the case of ceasefire. It's very obvious until the ceasefire doesn't get negotiated, peace can't be ensured. Ceasefire must from Iran POV need. So yeah, that's also included. Coming upon the major two topics which I feel are gonna be a problematic issue, which is the US presence in this region. Let's talk about the big boy and why I feel this is one of the biggest point of contention which is gonna happen, because the fact that Iran has included this in the 10 pointer means Iran is gonna discuss it. And you can't expect USA to leave from West Asia. A full removal of USA from West Asia is absolutely impossible for a very obvious reason is their dominance. Any and everywhere when USA has had a sniff that the power of dollar has started to decrease or their hegemonic interests are being, I would say, toppled about. USA won't like that. It's a fact and everyone knows. So what I honestly feel for this particular region is just one second. Yeah. So like I was saying, uh, you can't, I would say, just directly ask USA to boss Bye bye. No, it's not happening. They won't be leaving the reunion islands. They won't be leaving the bases which they have in Oman, Saudi, and the other areas in the Africa. They are not going to leave. That is not going to happen. But yes, a promise from the side has to arrive for the case of future escalation. The thing is, boss, the B-2 bomber attacks it were done by the side of USA, and the assassination was done by the USA. So the thing is, the sovereignty of Iran has to be respected. You can't just go and attack another country. This is not the wild, I would say, 1700s, 1600s, the colonial and the imperialism power where you can just go about and do whatever you want. It can't happen right now. There are some international laws at place, and each and every country has their own, I would say, uh, need survival. So that's what I feel when I mention the case that yes, for a negotiation to happen, of course, yes, USA is not going to leave this area, but yes, a promise of sovereignty of Iran has to be given. Somewhere or the other, USA has to cooperate and provide, I would say, a justification and I would say commitment that yes, we won't, I would say, further cause some pain and this escalation happen about. The second point, which was about the war reparations. Technically speaking, what they have done in Iran is diabolical. Even small girls and women got killed when the attack happened on that school. So yeah, the reparations have to be paid. And here's where I feel that Mr. Trump is gonna like this thing, which I'm not now gonna say, because the thing is, Mr. Trump is a businessman, and what a businessman wants is a deal. So here is a deal which Iran can propose to USA, and that's the big fat thing which he has always been asking about: a joint venture. Joint venture not for the Strait of Hormuz, but a joint venture in Iran. And I'm gonna be a selfish one here and say that a joint venture in Chabahar port. Chabahar port. If you are listening to me, Mr. Trump, this is the best thing which you can do for the USA. And here's the reason why. Your biggest enemy right now is not Iran. It's, it's not Afghanistan. It's not North Korea. It's not Russia. It's China. You know that. I know that. Everyone knows that the biggest enemy of USA and the biggest threat which USA have in the pertinent future is China. So if you have now, it's the best opportunity. What can be a big thing than this opportunity which you have right now to have a military not base but a civilian administration, I would say, joint venture in Iran just beside Pakistan. Suppose you get a position, a joint venture gets existing between India, USA, and Iran, where the Chabahar port starts to get rebuilt. Boss, you get access near Gwadar port. Gwadar port is what? It's the BRI cornerstone. It's also a cornerstone in the Djibouti, in the cornerstone of China's plan of in boxing India in South Asia, the string of pearls. So just imagine if there can be a joint negotiation between India and USA in maybe Bandar Abbas, in Minab, even in the Chabar. Just imagine if we can have a joint negotiation. You are gonna be in the proximity to your rival China. The BRI rival comes about. So I think if a big plan, if a big deal can be proposed, my proposal to Mr. Trump here is that please consider this option. If a joint venture can be provided between India and USA in the case of Chabahar, because A, it finally helps India also to kickstart the process of Chabahar because we need Chabahar port. We are very unfortunate to have Pakistan as our neighbor because we can't enter the area of POK, the Gilgit-Baltistan area, and then enter Afghanistan. We are very unfortunate. And because we can't directly enter Afghanistan, we can't directly go and trade with the Central Asia. And Central Asia has reserves at the top-notch level. Kazakhstan has the biggest proportion of uranium right now. Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan area, then the Armenia, Azerbaijan. It's a, I would say, a mindful, I would say, area for trade. It's a bumper trade area which India can do. We can do the trade with Russia also. With Chabahar reopening, it could help India to once again envisage the possible angle between India North South Transit Corridor. Just imagine, Mr. Trump, just imagine if you can have a deal. It's a proposal. Suppose the Chabahar deal gets signed. Chabahar deal gets signed. India, Chabahar, USA, Iran cooperation exists. You can ask Mr. Putin also to come in this deal. If Mr. Putin this deal, a possible solution to even the Ukraine war comes about. Because once again, it's the element. I think I might be going a bit of a naive and an idealistic person here, but we can try. We can think. It's like I said, a maximalist stance, a maximalist position. So just a hunch, just an idea if we can try about. So yeah, if a possible joint venture of cooperation can exist between USA and Iran and the countries of importance like India here, it's gonna be a win for Mr. Trump and the co. Iran has oil to offer, so it could be a possible deal which USA can do. And we all know the friendship which Iran and China have. The level of dealing in the cryptocurrencies, the Belt and Channel routes, the yuan power increasing, the Russia China deals, it's increasing. So if somewhere or the other Iran and USA can come in a joint cooperation, maybe the pipeline between Iran and Oman gets built up out, which we had in the previous uh, era also. Pipeline build up maybe between the Iran and the GCC in the future. So yeah, USA can position itself to be a credible player here, and if the deal happens about, it could then start to bring about some war repayments to Iran. Directly, would USA pay? I don't think so. That's going to happen because these folk never even said sorry as such in the past. So, but yeah, if a proposal for a joint venture, a business idea comes about, Mr. Trump is going to do that. He even proposed the same thing for the case of Gaza also. Gaza was positioned to be as a prime land real estate area by Mr. Trump. That's where I feel that a negotiation can come about. If a joint venture, if a joint cooperation, if a joint, I would say, agreement comes about. And that's where the element of India should come about and not in the so-called fractured ceasefire being planned in the Rawalpindi Islamabad conference. So that's my 10-pointer proposal for this particular war to get finally finished. I don't know how this is going to happen because it's not looking good right now. The like Gitaksh mentioned in the initial stance that yes, two of the Indian ships got struck by the Iranian side. The Strait of Hormuz has once again been closed by Iran, and so yeah, it's a problematic issue. It's still existing. But let's see how it happens. There's no conclusion for the Lebanon issue also yet, and of course the uranium angle still exists a lot. So let's see what happens and how things build about. So just a second, if I can have a screenshot of mine yeah, while this stream are going on. So yeah, so I think that's the wrap for this particular topic. If I can just remove my headphones now, looking like legit Red Bull race engineer. Just a second. Just let me check if the audio is working fine. Let me check if the audio is working fine. Yeah, it's fine. So, thanks a lot for tuning into the stream. Really appreciate. Before I end the stream, just a small announcement which I would like to make. So, we have recently launched a think tank with the name of HIPPOS. So, HIPPOS here stands for History, International Relations, and Philosophy, providing opportunistic solutions. I would discuss about the same in detail also in one of the videos I have planned. But just a bit of a talk, I would say, in the end if I can have with the chat here. So yeah, hippos is an idea which I had been building since the last year, and to be finally able to talk such thing with the world, it's I would say a pleasure of mine. That finally a dream which I have had in my mind to build up a space, to build up a community where we can talk around the contours of history, international relations, philosophy, and other aspects. Yeah, it feels very good to finally do that. So currently we have a 8-member team which is trying to build content around the contours of public policy, uh, gender dynamics, climate change, South Asia, and defense, and yeah, the geopolitics and the world history and the philosophy element from my side. So we are trying to build something. We are, I would say, yeah, cooking something. The cook is happening about. And I am expecting that by 27th of April, basically the next Monday, we can start to post content on the website, the LinkedIn, the Medium, and the platforms. Instagram and the YouTube would be used for the community engagement bit. The podcast would keep on flowing as they have. So we'd love to have your opinion. We'd love to have your support and feedbacks here. It's just an experiment which we are trying about. But yeah, I always had a desire, and I always had, I would say, a dream of mine to talk with the entire world. My thoughts, my process, my yeah love for geopolitics. Uh, I tend to talk a lot with many people. Sometimes, yeah, people might get bored about the niche topics which I talk about, but that's who I am, and I'm proud for what I am. Uh, doesn't matter, yeah, if a couple of people aren't listening or this particular thing couldn't worked out for me, but yeah, knowledge is to be there. Things are to be shared, so I'm here right now. UPSC is something which I had initially in my mind when I was the way I would say the geopolitics and the love for the same God position, but did not work well. But it's fine. I would say people are allowed to dream. I had a dream, and a dream did not work, and I have no regrets for that because the fact that that dream I had is the reason why I am sitting right now here where I am. Because if I had not taken up UPSC preparation, geopolitics, and magazine and the other connection which I had with the people, the podcast, it could never have happened. So yeah, I'm grateful for whatever the God has given me. It's been a tough journey, but it is what it is. It's a choice which we took. So we knew when we took the choice that yeah, it's gonna be a tough road. It's gonna be a road which might not have a particular, I would say, end, but still, we did what we could have done, and yeah, here we are, trying to do the best we can in the best possible way we can. Would love to update more about how things have been happening about in the life. Just waiting for some couple of good news. So yeah, would share more. But yeah, here's the hippos. Really appreciate this love and support so far. Glad I can contribute to the ongoing, I would say, discussion on such topics and provide a perspective of my own. Really appreciate the love and support so far. Uh, Thanks a lot for tuning in. But keep on rolling the content more and more. If you have any feedback, any suggestions, please do let me know in the comment section below, or you can reach out to me even on my LinkedIn and Instagram. So yeah, let's get this party started. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned. I'm gonna come up with some great ideas soon. It's gonna roll up very soon. So yeah, thanks a lot. Um, let's get this party started. So yeah, thanks a lot. Really appreciate the support. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and. Bucky, if I can talk a couple of seconds more, uh, any advice if maybe I have to provide, if I can. So I would say that dream more, dream big, dream to the moon. Even if you fall, at least you would fall down to the stars. And I think that's the thing which matters. There is never, I would say, a repercussion for a dream, and I think that's something which we should live by. You don't never know which dream, which I would say goal, which manifestation of yours works down the lane. So yeah, dream big, try to, I would say, do the best you can with the skills you have. If you can contribute to the broader world, it's a good thing, I would say. Sometimes or the other we feel that the purpose which we tend to think is just ourselves, but yeah, if we, I would say, tend to go a bit back and then see things from the bigger picture, I feel the best of the skills which we can offer, or the best of the way which we can operate, is when we have a bigger purpose in hand. So yeah, try to find the bigger purpose. It could be even a small thing, but yeah, it could be a big purpose for yourself. So uh, I would say yes. Once again, dream for the moon. Even if you fall, you will fall down to the stars, and I think it's a good thing to even do that. So yeah, once again, thanks a lot for tuning into the stream. It's been a pleasure to talk about the same. We are once again back live and alive. So yeah, thanks a lot. Stay tuned. Come up with more videos very soon. Thank you.